the bomb, bomb, bomb. Who put the ram in the ram-a-lam-a ding-dong? Who put the bop in
You're
the
listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan. I'm broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. The show is also brought to you by American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency, and Extreme Exteriors. As I mentioned in our last segment, we have a listener who is on the line who has a question. But before we get to her, I'd just like to let all of our listeners know that we've got a free gift for you. We put together a bi-monthly newsletter called What's New. A lot of what we talk about on the show, we will discuss in further detail. People that are on the show will also be writers for that publication. It's yours free for the asking. Give us a call at New Concepts during the week at 952-922-2500. Ask for Lori. She'll make sure that you start receiving your copy either electronically or by mail. You can also go to our website at www.newconceptsgroup.com. There's a pull-down menu that says radio show, and it has all of my contact information, because if you have a question from something I've said on the show or something you'd like me to answer, I'm happy to do that privately, but I will also ask, like I did with our current listener who's on the line with us now, if she wouldn't mind being gracious enough to let us do the recording of the show and have her ask the question, because I know that whatever a lot of people are thinking, there are many more of you out there that have the same question. So I want to say thank you, listener, for being on the show today. And you have a question.
Yes, I do. The problem we have with our association board is they will not abide by our governing documents. And the latest violation is in regard to our annual meeting.
Okay.
According to our bylaws, our board should notify the association owners 21 days prior to our annual meeting, which should take place on the first Wednesday of the month of October. We should have received that notification on September 10th, according to our bylaws.
Okay, and you haven't received them?
We have not been notified. We've not received it. We haven't received our packet of materials, giving us the names of the nominees for our election, nothing.
And so you said you placed a call then to, was it the management company?
Yes.
Okay.
I asked our property manager about this and was told that they thought the board would be planning the annual meeting later in the month of October because of our decorating project.
Okay. And so you're concerned because now your governing documents state that the annual meeting must take place on the same day every year?
Yes.
Okay.
The first Wednesday of the month of October.
Okay. Now, one of the things I just want to ask for clarification too, and this is important. One word can make a big, huge difference. When looking at the governing documents, there's a difference between when the word shall or may. Sometimes a homeowner association, it states in the governing documents when that first annual meeting is, because the declarant or the builder is building those governing documents. And then it says, and then it'll say some words to the effect, and then at a time to be determined yearly by the board thereafter. But if it doesn't have that, and some will actually be very specific and say it's got to be on this date every year. And you said you're pretty sure that your governing documents state that, right?
It says it shall be the duty of the secretary to send to each unit owner at least 21 days in advance of any annual or regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay. And okay, so it says that there you need to have that time period. But then does it? Can you read the further item that might say that the annual meeting must be held on this date?
Well, it just says the notice shall be hand-delivered or sent by U.S. mail to all unit owners of record at the address And then the delivery or mailing of a notice in the manner provided in this paragraph shall be considered notice served.
Okay. Well, yes, it does. It does seem that your governing documents are very specific on how much notification every homeowner needs to have prior to an annual meeting, because those are important events, and that was your concern, right?
Yes, it is.
And you had your broader question with that when we were talking before was, if that's the case, that the board is required by the governing documents to do something and they don't.
Yes.
How do you? The idea is, how do you get the board to comply, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is our recourse, and how do we convince them
Okay.
to abide by our governing documents?
Yeah, and let me answer that question, because that's a very important one, and that is, that's asking the question, who really is above the board? Are they
Yes.
the end all with the authority? And I think it's important to remember that any legitimacy or right that people on the board have to be able to operate the association and to be able to write rules and regulations for others to follow, it's important for board members to understand they are only there because the people that they are governing have given them their consent. And this goes all the way back to our society and how we were built as America in the Declaration of Independence. It says to secure rights that we have as citizens. It says governments are instituted among men, deriving just powers from the consent of the governed. And so that's an important issue. People who are on a board don't have don't have rights that supersede other people in the homeowner association. They're limited into the rights that they have, the authority that they have, because you, the other members, gave the consent for them to be there. And so ultimately, how do you change that? Well, you can change that a couple of ways. Long term, you go to an annual meeting and you don't vote for those same people and you vote for someone else. In a shorter term, if you're concerned about how do you get a board to comply, there's, I think, some steps you need to take. So let's say the association board says, we don't think it's important to have an annual meeting at all. And so the first thing to do is to, of course, be civil and to approach them at a meeting and say, I think you need to know that we need to have a meeting and we need to have it here on this date according to our governing documents. And you place your case, and they're either going to say, oh, you're right, or no, we disagree. If they disagree with you, the next step that I would take is again stay within the confines of your homeowners association. Go to the other members, the other homeowners, and say, I think that this isn't right. I would like to ask that we have a special meeting so that we can make it clear to the board of directors that they have to have an annual meeting and they have to have the annual meeting on this date. And you go and you door knock and you get the requisite signatures. And I think in most cases, if you take a look at your governing documents, it'll state that you need somewhere between 20-25% of the homeowners to sign a petition saying, yes, we want that special meeting. And once you have that, you go back to the board and you say, we're going to have this special meeting and we're going to have this annual meeting because, look, I've got the signatures of at least 20-25% of those living here. If the board still says no, and you've tried to be civil about it, and you've tried to do it within the confines of your association, and then your next step is to go to small claims court. And what you would do is you would have to file a claim. To file a claim is, I think, between $100 and $150 to do so. If you prevail and win in the court, it's normally required or asked of the person who loses that they have to reimburse you for those costs. So you can ask for that. when you go to court. And when you'd go to court, then you would make sure that you have your governing documents with you, and have those pertinent areas either highlighted or underlined, so that when you talk before a judge, when that case is being heard, he's going to ask in small claims court, what is your concern? You say they're not having an annual meeting. The governing documents say the annual meeting's got to take place on this date every year, and then you show that to the judge. The judge is going to then give a judgment, and if you get the judgment in your favor, yes, then they will have to abide by that, because not to do so means that you would be disobeying the law, disobeying a bench order by a judge, and that can carry with it other things that all of a sudden the city jumps in, and there could be additional fines and other things that they will not want. But trust me, if you get to that point, and you go to a small claims court to make your case, and you win, most likely you can probably count on getting that fee back, and getting them afterwards when they receive that judgment too. They'll realize this is something we've got to do. So does that sound like something you might be interested in doing then?
Absolutely. I've been taking notes, and I will start with the knocking on doors and getting owners to sign so that we can have a special meeting and go from there.
Yeah, and ask that it's for a special meeting to discuss and clarify that the annual meeting must take place every year and on this date.
Yes.
And it's important to have, and it can't be just set aside because they're too busy.
Right.
Okay. Well,
I appreciate your information so much.
Well, thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. So if you, too, would like to ask a question, listener, again, please go to our website, www.newconceptsgroup.com. Pull down on the menu where it says radio show. There will be all of my contact information. If you have a question, I will always take the time during the week to call back all listeners. And if you don't want to be on the air, I'll still answer your question. But if you would like to be gracious enough to be on the air, you can do so. We don't have to say your name because, again, whatever you're thinking and what your concerns are, believe me, there's so many more people who have the same thoughts and same idea. Well, let's take a break. Don't go away. We're going to wrap up today's show with one more segment. So we'll be back with Where You Live after these messages.